Thank you so much, Neota. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this side of Sunrise Daily. That's where you have Business Morning, having some business conversation. This morning, we're starting, as usual, from the global space. Oil prices extended gains on Wednesday after industry data showed a surprise drop in the United States crude stocks last week, and that's a positive sign for demand, though the markets are also keeping a close eye on hostilities in the Middle East. That, of course, has remained a driving factor of oil prices in recent times. Let's keep our eyes on the numbers now. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I hope I can have that soon. Just took that for granted. Well, Brent features up 26 cents. That's 0.29% at $88.68 a barrel. While for WTI, that's from the United States, that also climbed 26 cents. That's 0.31% to $83.62 a barrel. Talking about that crude inventories for the United States, it fell 3.237 million barrels in the weekend at April 19th. That is according to American Petroleum Institute figures. Also, traders are looking out for U.S. data on oil and product stockpiles is due today. That's in a couple of hours, the timing of the United States, obviously. And U.S. business activity cooled in April to a 4-month low, with S&P Global saying that its flash composite PMI output index, which tracks the manufacturing and services sector, fell to 50.9 from 52. That's a huge drop, but obviously because it's still around 50, it's still in the positive territory. We're also talking about oil, but we come to Nigeria. Dangote Petroleum again yesterday made an announcement of further reduction in the prices of both, now not just diesel, but diesel and aviation fuel. So diesel is now 940 for a liter from Dangote, to the retailers, and 980 for aviation fuel per liter. And this is coming at the wake of its widely celebrated price reduction, remember, to 1,000. So now it's below 1,000. The price change of 940 is applicable to customers buying 5 million liters and above. Sounds like business now, encourage volume there, while the price of 970 is for customers buying 1 million liters and above. Perhaps we'll see the buyers coming together now to get bulk of this. Talking about this, the person who shared this information is the head of communications of the refinery, Mr. Anthony Chejina. He explained that the new price is in consonance with the company's commitment to cushion the effect of economic hardship on the people of Nigeria. It confirms that Dangote Petroleum Refinery has entered a strategic partnership with MRS oil and gas stations. Now, incidentally or interestingly, MRS is asked to be delisted from this stock exchange, so that's kind of curious, because this is when a lot of investors would have looked the way of MRS, but we'll get development on that on our different market segments today and in the coming days. Well, Dangote says that this to ensure that customers get to buy fuel at affordable price in all their stations, that's MRS, not just in Lagos. I think they also have Maiduguri, and they are looking forward to partnering other outlet stations, not just MRS, but the confirmed one at this time is MRS. Now we come to currency. Another drop yesterday. NAFEX depreciated significantly at the close of trade, lost 71 Naira 85 kobo at the close of trade yesterday. So we see NAFEM has gone up to 1,300 Naira 15 kobo, all the way from 1,234 Naira 49 kobo, while NAFEX, which is always related a bit lower, 1,278 Naira 68 kobo at 1,206 Naira. I did speak to some players in the parallel market yesterday. It went for about 1,240, 230. So, it's interesting times, actually. to see that the rates are now lower at the parallel market, the opposite of what used to be than the official market. NAFEM went all the way 1,315 Naira. And of course, closely related to that, perhaps one of the reasons why we see that the rates are lower in the parallel market is because of the continuous intervention of the central bank. Yesterday, there was another intervention from the central bank to the BDCs at the close, before the close of trade. And central banks sold $10,000 at the rate of 1,021 Naira to the BDCs, of course, licensed and approved BDCs. So perhaps that's one of the reasons why we see that the rate at the BDCs is lower. And well, I'm sure they can be round tripping. You can't get dollar from the BDCs and take it to the banks. Obviously, they won't take that from you. So perhaps that's another intentional strategy that the CBN is employing. Now, away from the CBN, but closely related to that, obviously, the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, yesterday they had their annual lecture in Lagos. The meeting explored the availability of credit to the private sector and was an opportunity for participants to highlight the importance of liquidity and chart ways to reduce bad debts. Talking about bad debts, we promised you a conversation tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting one. Some of the factors contributing to bad debts in Nigeria. But today, let's take the report of the lecture by CIBN.
The theme of this year's lecture: improving availability of credit in the Nigerian real economy. The critical importance of liquidity is apt as it speaks to one of the major imperatives for real growth and development.
The theme of the 2024 annual meeting of the Chartered Institute of Bankers is an intentional effort to capture the realities of the real sector. The audience, made up of bankers, their regulators and associations, government officials and other players in the financial sector, listen as factors which affect credit availability to the private sector are explored.
Nigerian banks are heavily challenged in navigating the cosmos of financial risk of all hues and shades, including liquidity, operational, regulatory, and reputational risk, among others.
For an economy where over 90% of businesses are graded as small, their welfare cannot be overlooked in a conversation like this.
Funding is not a critical need of SME. It's important, but more important is the fact that you need to build up the structure, you need to build up their capacity. You need to capacitate that industry as much as possible to help them to be able to know the right kind of funding that would be relevant to their businesses.
In January 2024, the Central Bank of Nigeria reports that credit to private sector increased to 80 trillion Naira, indicating a 93.77% increase year-on-year. However, access and cost of funding still remains a challenge for the MSMEs. John Mekwa, Channels Television News. All right, from the financial sector, we'll go to the most important part because we have to eat. It's planting season in Nigeria. Of course, we've seen the weather. And yesterday we did talk about how the price of some crops are increasing at this time because it's planting season. How can we ensure that we have all-season crop availability in the country? Above that, what about the quality of seedlings and equipment for the farming? Well, let's discuss this with a farmer who doesn't look like a farmer this morning, the managing director of Banjoko Motoday Farms, Mr. Tunde Banjoko. He's a farmer, but he doesn't look like a farmer, but trust me, he's a farmer. Mr. Banjoko, good to see you in the studio. Good morning.
A farmer is not looking bad this morning.
Yeah, I see that. I guess you have all the tractor and all the equipment, so you don't need to soil your hands, you know, in the process of farming.
It's a mix. We still do both. We have some location where we do strictly mechanized. Even in the mechanized, you still have to mix it with...
Why?
No, there are some menial jobs you can still quickly do.
With your hands?
Yes, with the hands on the farm. So no matter how mechanized you are, human beings still have to work.
Okay, I know in Kenya...
some maintenance work.
In Kenya, for instance, the tea farmers are preaching against or are asking for reduction of mechanized farming. because it's taking the jobs away. But I know we are in Nigeria, we're far away from that.
No, people have to also do a bit of upskill, and it doesn't have to do it, formal education. For example, I remember on one of our projects, we took this motorized sprayer to the farm, and then we taught them how to use it. And some of them embraced it and even wanted to buy for themselves. So simple equipment, and even now we have some mini tractors and handheld tractors that people can use, and you don't have to be educated.
Are they made in Nigeria though?
Some are assembled in Kaduna, but not, I won't say made. Made in Kaduna. Coupled. I think, thank you for that word. Coupled in Kaduna, and they are trying to distribute because they are easier to use and also cheaper.
All right, so now it's planting season in the country. So unfortunately, we should expect that, it's a norm. At a time like this in Nigeria, we see some crops are more expensive now because it's planting season. We have not been able to go over that seasonal thingy, unfortunately, because I think we don't. Facilities or infrastructure for storage and processing is still a big deal in the country. Mangoes are very available now. I was telling someone yesterday, can we just juice these mangoes and keep them for the next couple of months? Because very soon we'll be looking for mangoes that we will not see. But it seems it's not an area that is popular in the country.
It is. Let me pick from where you stopped. And I'll also use that mango as an example. People are also doing some processing, drying mango, even in this Lagos state now. At least I have a friend, I'm sure she's watching me, that she dries mango so that when you have it in season like this, she mops up from the market as much as she can mop up within her financial means and dries them. So that what she then does is, when you need the mango, you just take it like snacks. And you have it, she does mangoes, pineapple, and some stuff like that, banana, and even pepper soup. Yes, so she freeze dries them, and then you can have it. But there's a limit to what she can mop. Fortunately, we're even talking some days back, she's in band A. And some of them are even saying they will have to probably relocate, stop, because at 77, they were struggling. They were not meeting their numbers. Now with the increase in electricity tariff. What I'm buttressing is people can mop up when we have excess in the market, so that during the time of scarcity, we can have them, but they need the funding, the expansion. I'm sure sometimes like we were talking together, she needs fund, because all she could mop is whatever little equipment. Our office is not even far from you. Whatever equipment can accommodate. But she was looking for funding to get bigger equipment. The more equipment she has, factories, there'll be employment, then she can mop up as much. So we need to look in that direction of, people want to scale. So what we are saying, people have started mopping up. A lady called me 2 days ago from the US that, Mr. Patrick, I'm relocating next year back from the US to Nigeria. I was so excited. I said, but this is what I want to do, exactly mango. But
mango is very interesting at this time. So, for me, it's an irony. Yesterday, I attended that event by CIB and Chester Institute of Bankers. And the president there was saying the issue is not funding for small businesses, it's more of building their structure and all of that. I guess the structure will also inform the banks if they can give funding or not. But, in this same Nigeria, we do know that there are very rich guys who sometimes are looking for areas to invest. And then we do have businesses such as your friend you have just mentioned. How do we merge them together? Or is it to win the trust
of the investors?
Perhaps that is where the problem is.
Let me use that same friend as an example. She's a chartered accountant. So when it comes to number, she rose to a level in her career. I won't mention where she left in the finance industry. So when it comes to numbers, she has it covered. But I think one area with investors is, when you talk of agriculture, the example we are using now, the mango freeze drying and all that, okay, you want to talk about, can I raise 200 million, 300 million to get my equipment, because they are going into infrastructure. I'll get my equipment, do this, do that. Can you wait for 4 or 5 years before we start talking of return? That's one. Not many of them are willing to wait that long. Secondly, not many of them are willing to say, okay, we probably can promise you 15% on your investment, 12% on your investment. They are looking out for Can I get 30? Can I get 40? Can I get 60? I'm telling you. So that's where the bridge is, and that's where the government only can play in terms of the duration and the tenor. Most investors are not, they are in for the money. We get calls every day, but they are always in for the money, not for the passion of, can we resolve some of these issues? We are coming from the perspective of, okay, these are issues. These are places where we should have comparative advantage. What can we do to mop up and revise this situation? But most of the investors, I'm sorry to say, are not looking in that direction. They are looking at it purely as business.
Yeah, well, you won't really blame them. I mean, if I have money, I want to multiply my money. But I think that's where, like, Bank of Agriculture.
There's a CSR aspect of it.
Well,
which, you know, they say in Maslow hierarchy of needs, you get to a level in life, you want to give back. I have somebody I was consulting for recently, and they said, this money today, we are setting it aside, not to make profit, we just want to give back. So we need people thinking in that direction. If God has blessed you, some people can lose 200 million and nothing, they won't blink an eye. They can lose $1 billion and they won't blink an eye. So
we have cases of 80 billion going on now with ex-governors, so 200 million is actually nothing
to some people. You know, I was talking to a lawyer friend some weeks back. Somebody just died, had 700 million in the Nigerian bank, and they can't access it. The money is gone.
To the banks.
I won't mention. You know, it's gone just about a week ago.
But we also have Bank of Agriculture. I think this is.
Okay, let me speak for them and help them this morning.
I don't know about that because, I mean, how many interventions have we had from the Bank of Agriculture?
Because the MD being a friend, they've been looking, I mean, in the Nigerian budget, they've been talking about recapitalizing the Bank of Agri for about 3-4 years, but that bank has not been recapitalized. So, you know, the last time I was with the MD in Abuja, he told me his own constraint. So now I go to the bank, they can't give me more than ₦1 million, above ₦1 million without being collateralized. So you now ask yourself, how many farmers? So I want to take 1.5 million from you, and they don't take movable assets. I have to give them a fixed asset, a landed property in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. So I want to take 2 million from you. I'll give you my collateral. I won't do that.
So thank God you said the MD is your friend, because I've been trying to get Bank of Agriculture. You just put yourself in a tight corner. We're inviting the MD of the Bank of Agriculture. Please tell your friend that we want to talk to him on the program. And we want to find out, let him come and tell us, because what we're seeing is farmers do need help. We've heard a lot about Bank of Industry and what they're doing, but we do not hear a lot about what Bank of Agriculture is doing.
As of last year, they wanted to also go digitalized, because now a lot of their processes are still paperwork. And the generation of farmers we have now are not interested in filling. I want to do this, come to the bank. They still use cash book in Bank of Agric. So in this day and age, so I think their restraint is the fact that they are not getting the right funding and capitalization that they need. So probably the present Minister of Agric will prioritize them, because if we get it right with Bank of Agric, I'm one of those who believe we'll start seeing some changes in their
Yeah, because I mean, just being practical.
They do 9%.
Yeah, like Bank of Industry also.
Where you are talking of 40%, 38%. How many of us can go there? And you now go to the smaller banks, the microfinance, 48%.
Yeah, that's worse.
So it's worse, but at times farmers are pushed to the wall to take it.
And agriculture is sensitive because you cannot fast track the process. You have to wait.
You have to, because for example, last year a lot of poultry farmers shut down. Feeds was just going up.
Yeah, poultry
price was going up, and so Bank of Agric, I guess, maybe I'll speak to the MD, who will probably make attempt.
Well, we're inviting you, Managing Director of the Bank of Agriculture, inviting you to Business Morning. I think there are some questions. Perhaps you help us clarify, because we are saying that the Bank of Agriculture is not making as much impact as it should. We have reasons. Well,
I'm sure
Mr. Banjoko says he's your friend, so it's great to meet you.
He will make a time. Either probably will go to Abuja studio and speak from there.
Okay, we'll be expecting that. So thank you so much, Mr. Banjoko, for your time. We wish you the best this planting season, because this will determine your harvest. Yeah. And we hope the weather favors you. I know you were so happy when it rained. Was it 2 days ago?
Yes, yesterday.
It was a prayer answered.
It was a prayer answered.
Thank you so much for your time. Yes. All right, so let's move from the food and agriculture to the money, the raw cash. The bank well, related to the bankers, as we know that bank recapitalization is one of the top news that we have in Nigeria at this time. They do have 2 years, but they have to the end of April, which is just in a couple of days, to share their plans to recapitalize. We'll have joining us for this conversation now the Chief Executive Officer of Atlas Portfolio Limited, Mr. Muyiwa Adeyemi. He's also non-executive director of Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria. Getting ready to be busy at this time, Mr. Adeyemi. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Good to have you on the program. So I see
it's
that.
It's a pleasure being here. It's a pleasure being here.
Awesome. So you guys are getting ready to be busy because the banks are coming to raise funds at the market. What is being put in place in readiness for this?
All right. Before I answer your question, I want to say that the banks coming to the market now is it's something that has happened long before now. Very quickly, I taken time to look at the banks in Nigeria and banks across the world, and it will surprise you to find out that the capitalization of the third largest bank in South Africa has a capital base of about 128 billion rand, which if converted to Naira, it comes to about 8.5 trillion Naira. So you can see that Nigerian banks cannot be competitive in Africa, talkers of in the whole world. And if you look at so many of our banks, and then you look at the capital base in terms of asset base of most of these banks, Nigerian banks don't even fall within the first 50 or first 100, which is a negative for our banks and a negative for Nigeria and people. So now back to your question. The capital market has a major that will play a major part in raising of these funds. Already sitting down, not just for the stockbroking firms, but for the operators generally. So when these banks start popping up, we have looked at the errors and the mistakes of the past recapitalization in 2005 now. And we have picked up those mistakes of those times, and we're making preparation to make sure that those errors don't repeat themselves down.
All right, so the market is, you did say that our banks are not as strong as, as other banks, as you have said. Now, how do we get the investors ready? For instance, I was talking earlier about how MRS has indicated that it would like to be delisted. Now, things like this could send uncertainty down the mind of investors. We want to have the markets flooded now, even though it's the banks that are coming in now. But how do we get investors ready for this flurry of opportunities that will be available in the markets?
Okay, the first and major thing is to make sure that we have every Nigerian taking into consideration that market inclusiveness. Everybody is it's a market for every Nigerian that cuts across even the world. So number one, it is important we look at educating investors. A lot of investors don't have the perfect understanding of our market. That's why you see some small investors go to money market to borrow short-term funds and want to play the market of long term. Most times they get their fingers burned, and that has played itself in time past. So now what the market will do, and in conjunction with the operators and even the bankers, is to ensure adequate education of Nigerians who will be participating in the market, number one. Number two, there will be so much of the use of technology. Technology never presented an opportunity during the first capitalization of banks, but now that will be deployed so that every household gets the opportunity to invest. And products that will narrow down on how we can participate would also come up. So those are three basic points that would be built on, so that investors, potential investors, can participate in the market.
All right, so the other one is the economy. Some people have talked about the regulator, and the regulator has said it is ready. The economy getting ready for this, I mean, it's going to be huge liquidity coming in. What changes do you see it? The CIBN, for instance, they're talking about more credit to the private sector, but you also have the issue of bad debts and culture of how do people really want to pay back the debts and all of that? So how do we get both the real sector, the economy generally, ready for this liquidity that is about to come into it?
It has to do with so much policy. The policy that the government must deploy. Before now, the capital raise, you can see I kept referring to the past raise and then looking into what we should expect in this new capital raise. The capital raise at that time, I think at that time, the banks were able to raise about $3 billion to the banks. But you realize that most of those funds that were raised didn't get to Nigerians. The Nigerians that had access to those funds at that time, well, probably less than 3% of Nigerians had access to borrow funds. So it didn't impact the small and the small scale businesses. And if you don't have, if any policy does not impact on the small scale businesses, then whatever the policies are, it's not, without having a better word to use, is close to useless. You know, so I believe the government at this time should ensure that whatever funds are raised gets to the bottom of the bottoms. You know, gets to the root cause of to the low income earners. We have a lot of Nigerians today who want to do small, petty businesses, but don't have access to loans from banks. Either the collaterals are extremely too much, or the conditions for these loans are just out of this world. So that is very, very critical. Whenever these funds are raised, each policies must be in place to ensure that it gets to the medium and small scale enterprises.
All right, thank you so much. I mean, that certainly is something that should be considered, because more liquidity in the banking sector does not automatically mean more funding to the real sector. Thank you so much. Chief Executive Officer of Atlas Portfolio Limited, Mr. Muyiwa Adeyemi, and also Non-Executive Director of Association of Securities Dealing Houses, Asham. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, anytime.
All right, now we head to the market in just a couple of minutes now. Unfortunately, the NGX is back on the negative trend. Yesterday, it dropped 0.06% and still on 99 trillion naira. There you have it right there. I have 0.35% there. And the equities cap is 56.16 trillion naira. Activity chart in the red, unfortunately. Top trades, top pickers of profit taking again yesterday are still the banking sector. There you have it. UBA, Access Co, and I think GTCO was also there for the top trades. A lot of profit taking still going on in the market. Let's just look at other market. I think we have just about a minute or so. The smaller unlisted market yesterday was also, if we have the smaller unlisted market, the NASD, that was in the positive. And then there you have it, in the positive 2.70% market cap. Got a bit stronger, just a little bit, 1.5 trillion naira. So that's looking good for the fixed income market. We know this is the reigning market at this time. Investors are flocking there. There were 29 deals on the NTB, worth 59.9 trillion naira. Right there, and we see a lot of activities at the April 2025, which is a bit longer because you have the July 2024. These are shorter, so we say a bit longer, but the yields are so good now. I think for the 1 year, you're still having more than 20% yield, so who doesn't want to make money in a short time? If we can see the federal government bonds for yesterday also, I think we had about 28 deals right there worth more than 20. There you have it, 27 deals worth 11.28 billion naira. So, well, we'll have more information and fresh figures from the market at 1 p.m. Ladi will be here. Will Ibong will be here, especially to give you details on the market. Looking for investment opportunities, you might just get it at that time, so you don't want to miss Business Incorporated. I'm John Mekwa. We head back now to the Sunrise Daily Studios.